we'll just take a massive shift because we were talking about motivations, but you were prompted to call Alex yesterday.
What's going on? It's Alex. Oh, you're not on speaker. My bad. Sorry, go ahead. My bad. So you can just say it again.
Hey, I'm Mike Andes, and the founder of Augusta Lawn Care.
Mike, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good. Last month we did 1.1 million in revenue across kind of three different departments. So 50% of it comes from the franchise, 20% from the media side of things, and 30% from Copilot CRM, which is like software.
20% software. What was the 30?
50% from the franchise,
Yeah.
Augusta Lawn Care, 20% from the media side of things, and 30% from Copilot CRM, which is the software.
Okay.
And so we have 191 locations on the franchise side right now in U.S., Canada, Australia. About 180 are in operations now.
Okay, 180 open. Got it. Okay.
System sales will probably be around 70 to 80 million in 2025.
Okay.
And so I came to the scaling workshop last year, spoke with you, and you said really focus on unit economics. So Dr. Cash and I worked with kind of 5 different ways to solve the off season for the franchisees.
Yeah.
And the goal is 1,000 locations and to go public in 6 to 8 years.
Okay.
Right now, my constraint is that 100%, or I guess my question is 100% of our franchise leads come from my organic social media content on YouTube. Okay. And about 225,000 subs. So my question is, should I focus more and better on the content side, or just start a second marketing channel or acquisition channel, paid ads, outbound calls, etc.? Just because we want to increase the speed at which we're now selling locations, we really haven't been pushing it up until now.
Well, I'll first say that this is a many ways up the mountain type problem. So I want to be clear that like either will work. So just like upfront, so that way you don't look back and think like, oh, I should have done the other way. Like both of them will work. Like if you just say I'm going to spin up outbound, you looks like you have the resources to do it. So that would be fine. If you wanted to just say like, I'm going to double down on content and make more better content, that would work too. Because it's not like it's not like you've tapped YouTube. You know what I mean in terms of the content you have. Are the people that are coming in existing lawn care guys that are flipping, or are they people who want to start a lawn care business?
The vast majority are converting, about 70%.
No,
now.
I think it's better. That's good. Okay. So you want to grow faster. How many units a month are you selling?
But right now, we've averaged 40 to 50 units every year, basically since we started 5 years
ago. So one a
ago.
week?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. So you sell one a week, and have you changed your cadence on content or what you make?
In the past year and a half, we've basically done weekly, and then shorts are more frequently across all platforms, but they're like turnaround shows. So I travel out, it's a full production team, and we go like turn around the business. It's all home services.
Yeah, I heard. Okay. So either there's a lot of different plays here. So it's like you could just run ads and just retarget all the people that are in your existing audience. That would probably be the lowest lift. It's like, what's going to be the thing that's going to get you to where you're trying to go the fastest? It would be that.
Yep.
And so if you think about it, like I'm drawing a little triangle here. So if we imagine your audience as a triangle, you basically have persisted at making money by letting people kind of float to the top of that little peak. And then some of these people convert, right? And then you have a huge amount of people underneath that are just kind of consuming free stuff. Now, you can either move the line down and convert a higher percentage of the audience, which you would do via ads, or we extend the size of the pyramid overall so that the percentage of people who convert then becomes a larger slice.
Makes sense.
Both of them work. And so then the question is, okay, which do you have more skills that you can do in a shorter time period? So given your existing resources.
I would say I'm better at the content than figuring out paid ads.
Okay.
Right now.
Well, then I would say if you haven't really changed much about your paid ad strategy in the last your content strategy in the last 18 months, that's where I would double down on. And I wouldn't double down on it. I'd be like, how do I 5X down on it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so how many pieces are you putting out a week right now?
One long form a week on YouTube is kind of like the show. And then every day is shorts.
Yeah. And you're only doing that on YouTube.
The other platforms too, Facebook, Instagram.
And that's the shorts.
And TikTok.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Those are smaller platforms, maybe 70 to 100,000 followers on those platforms. YouTube is where everyone says they hear about me.
Yeah, heard. So I'll give you a tiny little tactic that we've seen work well. One is just take, so I don't, is your CTA just in the description?
We don't do much CTAs. Like maybe sometimes one lower thirds on the videos.
Yeah.
But really not much CTAs.
Okay, so thing number one is I would put the CTAs within every video. There's 5 different ones, so you can put CTA in the description, CTA at the 30% mark of the video. You run your own kind of internal ad. The next is your actual profile. I would put it there. The fourth would be pinned comment on every video. And then number 5 would be YouTube community posts. Are you using those?
Yeah, right now about daily, yeah.
The community posts?
Correct. I'm just not doing CTA. That's probably where I'm lacking.
Yeah.
I've kind of used the strategy of like everything free, not trying to be too promotional. But
well, you could. So it's a great point. So I kind of see these as kind of persistent. It's like an email sign off, right? Like, do you have a list that do you give anything away? Like if you give away stuff for free in exchange for an email, I still see that as free. I don't see that as like a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah. We do that, and I have about 50,000 that we can email.
Okay. Are you emailing regularly right now?
2 newsletters, and then on Friday when we release the show, we send out basically a summary of that.
Do any of those 3 emails per week have any call to actions in them?
Sometimes, yes. I've been moving away from that, actually. Again, I'm just focusing on like the open rate, but
I don't think you having a CTA is going to affect the open rate.
Okay. All right.
So like the key, this is how I delineate this, because I think your instincts are good. It's just an execution thing. So like for example, are you on Mosey Minute by any chance? My email?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I don't think that those emails are super right hooky. I think it's like, here's a tactic that you can use today to make more money in the business. By the way, you can go check out our thing, which is I only have 1 line that's a CTA. And then the entire rest of the email is here's stuff you can use. I think that I use that strategy for a reason because I like it. And it's just like when someone is ready, they can raise their hand and I make it easy and quick for them to do it. When someone is not ready, they just can skip past it. No big deal.
Got it.
So I would include, there's 2 ways that I've seen work really well. One is the way that I do. The other way is basically the Ultra PS, a super signature, if you will, where you underneath of the email have 4 different, things that someone can do. It's like, hey, if you want more free stuff, go here. If you wanted this, go here. And if you wanted this, go here. I tend to prefer fewer calls to action that are more direct, but that's just me. You could also just have 1 signature that says PS, here's my CTA, right? So I think number 1, I would be emailing with CTAs. Number 2, I would embed in those 5 places. Again, I don't think it hurts. Like if the biggest podcast in the world can have 8-minute long ad reads, you can put a 30-second thing saying, hey, by the way, if you don't know, I own franchises and I sell these things. And so if you want that, you can go here. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Like that to me is not, I don't think people are like, screw this guy. You know what I mean? But those are the 2 of like moving the line down in terms of converting a higher percentage. The other is still, how do we take, basically, I'll bet you that you have to spend more time than you currently are in pre-production for the content to grow. Like, I don't think it's, let's go from 1 video a week to 5 videos a week. It's how do we make that 1 video, like, if you had to spend 5 times the time on that video, could you get it to perform better?
Right.
And I mean, being real, like, the amount of time, the biggest belief breaker that I've had with content is that when I saw the guys who are truly the best in the world, 20 million plus subscribers on YouTube, and I asked them to kind of look at my stuff, they said, oh, well, send me your pre-production notes. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they were like, the pre-production notes. And I was like, I kind of just like have a couple of stories and I turn the camera on. They're like, yeah, well, that's why you don't have 20 million subscribers. And I was like, well, that tracks. And so right now you're putting all this effort into the production of the show, but I would put a ton into like, here's where huge leverage is the selection of the people that you're going to go see. Like, how are they on camera? Huge. Right? That's why they do casting for all these shows.
Right.
Prepping them ahead of time so that it's like tighter, it's faster, it's better. And then looking at the packaging and headline for that stuff, looking at outliers, seeing if you model outliers, making sure that the hook of the video is going to match the headline and the thumbnails, all that stuff.
Quick question on that, to double click on it, because I do see the constraint of the content as being our casting, like the number of people that applied for the show. Would you use my CTAs more directed towards that or towards the actual sale?
Not more, just both. Just both.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Mike. Appreciate you, man.
Welcome back. Another episode, C-Suite Unfiltered. We are diving in to the 100th episode, part three, really dragging us out, Lee. But I do want to go through all of these questions that I asked you a year and a half ago. So, not too much prefacing this time. We're going to go straight into it. I sent you a picture on WhatsApp. If you can pull that up, I'll put it on the screen for the people. But in our previous interview, I asked you to look at this picture. I will walk through this picture very briefly, and then to kind of think about how you see the world. Where do you align? And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into it. So, for anyone at home or listening to the podcast and not viewing on YouTube, it is a glass with nine picture, or excuse me, it is a picture with nine glasses. And one glass is the optimist, and the glass is quote unquote half full. One is the pessimist, and it is half empty. One is the realist, and that is a glass of water. One is a physicist. They see gas versus liquid. One is a surrealist, where the water shapes and bends in different ways that is not reality. One is the relativist, where the glass is technically half empty and half full at the same time. One is a utopist, where the water actually is all at the top of the glass and not at the bottom. One is a skepticist, it's not water. And one is the nihilist, and that is the water doesn't even exist. It does not matter because it is worth nothing and we're all going to die in the end. So, to you, Mike Andes, the question is where do you most align if you had to pick one or two of these glasses of water?
Definitely the realist, and then if I had to have a backup, I'd say the relativist.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Do you
Yeah.
want to know what you said a year and a half ago?
I had to have said the realist.
So you said you picked two as well, but you actually said the physicist and the realist. And
Oh,
I
okay.
believe your reasoning behind the physicist was that you do like to take things and break it down to their
Yeah.
their core pieces of information and
That would
actually
have been the
dig
third
into it.
one. That would have been the
Yeah.
third one. So,
So what are your thoughts on that now? Like why the relativist? Because you didn't say the relativist last time. I actually said the relativist, and you agreed with that. For me, I'm usually a relativist. I like to kind of play both sides of the coin a little bit, see things from every angle. Why would you say the relativist this time? Because last time you didn't even really align with it.
well, the difference between like the realist and the optimist is from a picture perspective is nothing, but it doesn't give more like the optimist has rose-colored glasses that fog them from seeing reality, and I don't like that. Like, so like I'm an optimist by nature, so I definitely am not pessimistic, but I like to be a realist to give more definition to the things I am seeing that are I am generally optimistic about.
Yeah, fair. And with the relativist, do you think that you've grown in that over like the last year and a half, 2 years, that you have to see things as relative? Like it isn't always one or the other. It is subject to maybe the conditions or consequences of powers that be that you maybe can't see in the first place.
I think it's more a matter of the realist. The problem with the realist, although that's where I probably define myself as like the relativist, at least gives definition to all areas of the picture. Like
Mm,
it accounts for the half empty in addition to the half full. So it accounts for everything. That's like why I would choose it over the optimist, is because it accounts for the part where there is lack or gap, in addition to being optimistic.
mhm. Fair enough. Now, my follow-up question to that is, do you feel that a certain attitude or a certain belief using these nine very reductive images, is there one or two that are more beneficial to being a business owner, to being an entrepreneur? Is there one way, two ways of looking at the world that you believe might be more beneficial or maybe has served you well, and you think other people should subscribe to that kind of school of thought?
I don't think anyone should do anything. I think
Well, I
that
understand.
I think that leaning into whatever your personality is in general and your leadership style is important, because then you can be consistent. So if one day you're optimistic and the next day you're pessimistic, the next day you're a realist, and like you're all over the place, that's difficult to be a leader, or at least it's difficult to follow. And so I think being consistent is important when it comes to that. I don't think that there's a right or wrong. Like, there's definitely very pessimistic founders that have done good things, and many times they will attract pessimistic employees, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think as long as we're all going the same direction and we see the world somewhat similarly, when we look at the glass of water, we're like, we all can identify that. And that's probably why I like the realist and the relativist, is because like I can actually speak to the pessimist in the room by addressing the fact that there is half of this cup is empty. I can also talk to the optimist in the room and say like, this is half full. And like I could go through our leadership team and actually pretty much tell you like where people are on that range, and then be like, okay, I gotta get everyone on this bus driving the same direction. And
Mhm.
so I think my answer is like the relativist is probably like that middle of the road. I'm trying to like make everyone happy situation, and I think that for me that's helpful. I'm also a people pleaser in most regards. Like naturally, and then I have to like push hard against that. But I think being consistent is probably the more important part.
Yeah, fair enough. And I know I said this in our previous interview, and you hate to say this phrase, or at least I hate to say this phrase, but most situation there's a lot of nuance involved, and that's ultimately what a relativist is. They are taking into account all of those nuances and the differences between specific situations. There's not one specific ideal truth in a lot of situations. There are multiple truths, multiple perspectives in situations. Oh, you're muted.
Are you a relativist?
I would say generally I'm a relativist and a realist. I think I teeter between the two of those, similar to
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
because there are certain aspects of reality. It's like it's a glass of water. We don't
yeah,
have to get emotional about it. We don't have
yeah,
to debate it. Like there is a glass of water and there isn't a glass of water, and that's where relativity is important because if everything is realism too aggressive of a realistic approach becomes nihilism.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think in a lot of ways. Like eventually the glass of water, because you just see it as a glass of water, eventually holds no meaning. And
yeah,
therefore it becomes like a nihilistic view of like, well, it doesn't even matter. Whereas
yeah,
relativists, well, the water could be helpful if someone is thirsty. The fact that it's has space means you could put ice in it and make it colder. Like there is an element of their what is it? Relativism that is actually helpful. So
yeah. I think if I had to look at the leadership team, I don't think they'd mind me saying. I think
yeah,
Liz
yeah.
is very optimistic, and then Nick is very, very pessimistic, and then you and I are kind of more in the middle of the two. But it's a
I
very good
would
balance. It's very helpful.
I would also attribute to Nick, and obviously now we're talking about someone who isn't here, but I would say Nick is a very good physicist as well.
True,
And I
true.
think
I
that he
agree.
really does want to break things down to their core elements. Like, what
Yeah.
is this actually mean? Now, this is not about Nick, but it's something that I thought about while re-listening to our old recording and looking at this diagram. I was like, okay, we're looking at this diagram. You could take it at surface level, but how do these all kind of relate to each other? And I realized, like the realist, the more you look at it as a glass of water, it almost becomes nothing, and then you kind of can slip into nihilism. Realist can slip into nihilism, and I think you can see that sometimes with when people become successful, they kind of become nihilistic with the sense that like, oh, okay, well, I made money and I know how to make money and I know how to make more money, so it doesn't even really matter, right? You kind of see that happen sometimes when people are successful or whatever. A bad example. I also think with relativism, I think that relates to the physicist in the sense that sometimes that creates paralysis analysis where hey everything's relative. There's as Alex just said to you the other day, there's many paths up the mountain, right? The glass can be half empty, it can be half full, and then people get paralysis analysis because they aren't a physicist, because they're like, well, I don't understand how the gas side of it works, I don't understand how the liquid side of it works. What does it matter? Just pick, is the glass half full or half empty, and let that serve you. And so I was trying to think about how they relate, and I think that generally speaking, a relativist can be caught up if they don't understand the physicist side of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think when like what's interesting is when I think about the engineering side of things, like it's like software side, we have a lot of like surrealist, utopist. We also have skepticists. Like it's like way more skewed. Because engineers, because they can build things, they look at the world differently.
Fair.
And it's very interesting. And also physicists, because like some people will break things so far down, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about those 10 different angles as to why this won't work. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say for anyone out there, like show this to your spouse, show this to your coworkers, see what they say. If Brianna had to pick yours for you, what would she say? Because you asked me this, because we had Sarah, the producer, in the room, and you looked off camera at her and you said, "What is Lee?" And
Oh
she
yeah.
agreed that I'm generally a relativist and sometimes leaning on realism. So what would Brianna say about you?
She would say I'm a relativist, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
She gets to
It's just,
hear my deductive reasoning on things
yeah.
and steel manning my own arguments back and forth all day.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. No, it's good. And I think all of these hold value, they hold weight. I don't think there's one correct way to live. I think there are definitely times when you need to be maybe an optimist when the chips are down, right? And the glass is definitely half empty, but you really need to see it as half full. Like I think there are elements of that. I also think that from a business perspective and making calculated risks, you need to be skeptical at times. Well, is this person selling me, snake oil? Is this actually the right opportunity? And I deal with that every day, obviously on sales calls. Most people have their skepticist hat on when they book that call with me. They're expecting this guy to sell me, to trick me, to whatever. And I was like, hey, let's just break it down to relativity. And I try to get them from skeptical to relative. It's like, hey, you could join Augusta, probably make a lot of money, just statistically. You could go off on your own and maybe make money. Statistically, probably not as likely. Let's just look at the reality of that and go down both paths. And I think that's also served me well of kind of zooming out, not focusing on one worldview, not feeding into one worldview and trying to see it from different angles.
I love it. I love
The ultimate relativist. So
it.
I think there's some value to all of these though. Yeah. So that was kind of the first level question, and then I kind of asked a little bit about what do you think serves a business owner well, but on kind of coattailing off of this, we went into motivation, and this is not necessarily related to the glasses, so it's slightly separate, but kind of relies on a little bit of like your mindset and how you operate as a business owner. And when I asked you the question, I kind of made like a chart, and this is the original, so I have no idea if this is real or not, but I was like, I think if you can break down motivation into positive and negative motivations and internal and external motivations. And I kind of wanted you to identify and see if anything's changed of kind of how you get your motivation. And I think, to give some examples, positive internal is like affirmations, reminding yourself how great you are, like, taking like quotes or things that you've heard and using them as a way to keep you excited and keep you moving forward, looking at your progress over time as like a reminder of your success. Positive external would be books, podcasts, feedback from your coworkers, your employees, whatever it may be, peer reviews that say good things about you. That's positive external. Negative internal would be like, I'm nothing. I'm not succeeding unless I hit a certain number. I'm not going to hit my goals unless it looks like this in my bank account. And then negative external would be listening to the negative voices, right? And one of the things that I've said is like, some people operate with that chip on their shoulder mentality. That's negative external. So brief examples, what would you say you operate most on for motivation, or do you even need motivation? How do you motivate yourself in any way, shape, or form?
Like if I had to choose, I'd say like I probably skew a little bit towards a negative internal. Mostly just trying to like run away from past, like I don't want to be poor ever. Um, and seeing that pain, so like I don't want to be that. But I think I've gotten better in the past couple years since talking with Dr. Kashi about getting outside of that, and being like more positive internal, and like seeing just being more reflective. I do think I am driven by like beating competition, but not I don't want to see them lose. So I don't know if that means anything. I just want to be able to say I'm the best, and I don't really like if we're not going to be number one, like we should just give up. So I would say if I had to choose one, I would say it's probably negative internal, but I have definitely improved moving away from that and oscillating between positive internal and I don't validation, probably positive external, no. So a little bit of negative external probably. I've moved more in the direction of those two than
Okay.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
guess. What did I say back then?
You last time you did say positive or negative internal, that you will kind of, you're fighting yourself. You have like kind of these internal battles, these internal motivators of like, we're not good enough until we reach a certain point. There are people doing better than us. We need to make sure we're trying to keep up with them.
It's like
But you actually
Lee's feedback to me this morning. Be like, yeah, the product will never be good enough to sell it. Come on.
Hey, look, it was my unfiltered, all right. It was, well, no, okay. We could go down that road. I'm happy to peel back the curtain. Yeah, let's go down that road. So it kind of, because it does relate to motivations, where you gave me a response. We were having an internal debate, a healthy debate inside of the leadership team, and you gave me a response that quote, once the product is nailed, then we can, and I'm not going to, elaborate on the quote. We'll keep some things internal. Once the product is nailed, we can, dot, 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 dot. And my response was, my filtered response, I didn't tell you at the time, but I told you this morning, I said, but the product will never be nailed. Like, and I know, but that's how you lead, right? There will never be a moment where you look at me and say, like, everything that you're doing is perfectly. Like, just you'll never say that, and that's fine. Like, that's not a mark on you. That's a good thing because our number one core value at Augusta is constant improvement, which inherently assumes that nothing will ever be completed, nothing will ever be perfect. There will always be a way to make it better. And so my pushback to you this morning was, well, if you're saying we have to wait until the product is nailed to do dot dot dot, like that, then we're just going to be waiting forever. And so my response is just lead with passion. Doesn't matter during the highs or the lows. We just have to move forward. We have to constantly improve, and embracing that as part of the brand was kind of my feedback. So I don't know.
Notice I don't think you need to be perfect in order to nail a product, to be clear. Like,
Fair, fair.
is an iPhone perfect? No, but they have nailed the product. And so like what we were talking in relation was Copilot, and I think we've nailed Augusta in the past 6 to 8 months, and for that reason, I stood on the stage and we sold it. Right, so
Mhm.
I actually did lean into the product because I believed that the product
Yeah,
was the best thing for every person in that room, and so I do think we can nail the product without it being perfect, and I do think we'll do the same thing for Copilot. But it was a valid point, and you were right. You were right in that you were piggybacking off of Alex telling me basically to add more call to actions in my
yeah,
videos
yeah.
and not be more quote promotional, but like put a 10-second mid roll in and say if you want to join Augusta, click here.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of the context. I guess we'll just take a massive shift because we were talking about motivations, but we'll dive into that a little bit because it was recent and a lot of people probably saw it. I know there are people in the comments that were like crazy crossover, like Alex from Mosey Mike Andes. So you were prompted to call Alex yesterday at time of recording. So walk us through how that happened and why that happened.
Yeah, well, this segment should probably be at the beginning of this video for retention
Yeah,
purposes,
100%. I
and
was thinking that too.
and the media team does have the file, so you could actually put my call in here. But anyways,
Oh, let's go.
so yeah, the night before, he just put on YouTube. He was like, "Hey, if you, I'm gonna be calling people tomorrow live. If you want to be, apply, fill this form and submit a video." And so it was pretty late. I went into the in my closet and made a video real quick. Um, and I actually felt very confident I was gonna be on, mostly because it was such short notice. I knew he'd only get like 40 to 50. And I,
Yeah,
I could kind of do the math of like my audience, how many I would get versus him. So I'm guessing he got between 40 and 80 applications. And so I'm like, I probably am going to be the largest business owner, and they'll want me because I mentioned the scaling workshop and that his advice has helped me in the past. So because he helped do like the spur kind of the off season movement,
yeah.
and so all of that to say yes. Then yesterday talked to him for about 15 minutes on a call, and yeah, picked his brain about kind of like scaling up the franchise side of things.
Yeah. And so what was his overall feedback to you on scaling up the franchise?
Yeah, like first off was retargeting ads, which you and I have already kind of created, and we just haven't pulled the trigger on it because we don't have the sales team. So like you're scaling up the sales team to be able to accommodate us putting more appointments on the schedule, and more importantly, weeding out a lot of people that currently block your schedule and are not good candidates for Augusta Nation. So like last month, under 10% of people that book a call with you get in, significantly under 10%. Last month it was like 3.3%. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a lot of weeding out that you're doing. It wastes your time from focusing on the people that really do need time to go through things and make the decision. And so obviously scaling up that's important so that we can then do exactly what he said, which the quote part that we moved off of, but he said is the low hanging fruit is retargeting ads against my audience and basically making sure I am doing call to actions on paid ads. So we will do that. We already have that ready to go. We just haven't had the capacity on the sales team. And then the second part was really like on the content side, 5xing my effort into that. So yeah, and then like making more call to actions in the emails, in the videos, etc., and just making it very quick. I think in the past I've done call to actions, but it's more been like 30 to 60 seconds in the video, and that can get where people like want to skip through. Versus if it's 10
Mhm.
seconds, people usually won't skip. So I need to get better at like being okay with my CTAs, being confident in those, putting in the 30% marker, doing pinned comments with a CTA. So yeah, yeah, that's the That's what we currently have taken away from that call. And we took
Was
action
that
right
the?
away. Yesterday,
Oh, I
changed
saw
all my
that.
CTAs. I made a very right hook post just to like hit
Yes.
myself in the gut and be like, "Yep, we're doing this."
Yep.
And I recorded this morning CTAs, so I hopefully in tomorrow's video can get in there. So we'll see.
Yeah, I saw that post immediately and I was like, I like this. I think it was my perspective listening to your call and then seeing that post. It was cool to see you as a student. And I think that a lot of people, going back to our core value, like constant improvement, like you holistically embrace it. That was you holistically embracing it. Alex gave you a piece of advice. He is somewhere that you want to get to, or you would like to be on a similar path to him in terms of business trajectory. So you took action. And I think that a lot of people want to delay that action and him and ha and have be the physicist and break it down or like look at it from a relativist perspective of like, well, if it doesn't work this way, what if it's this way? It's like he broke down the problems that you're having or the issues that you wanted to bring up, not necessarily problems, maybe some of the issues or bottlenecks that you've identified. And he said, okay, here's the clear path through that. This is what I would do. This is what we've done in the past. And you took action. So I thought, kudos to you for taking action. I saw that post. I was like, wow, you've never posted anything that like in your face in a long time. But I was like, but that's exactly what he said to do. And obviously, I'm happy about it because I'm going to reap the benefits as someone who's in sales. That's going to generate more leads, give me more work to do, give me more sales. Like all of that's a positive for me. But I also think it's a positive for all of Augusta that we are selling the success story that is Augusta. And yes, that is not to negate that there are owners that are struggling, that are going through highs, lows, whatever it may be. That is not to negate that. But you look at the aggregate of what Augusta is doing, it is a net positive for the overwhelming majority of people that join and the overwhelming people that support just you and your content, or maybe that aren't going to join Augusta, but know an Augusta owner, whatever it may be. And so it's showing the world that net positive.
You know what's funny is I didn't even think about what you just said until last night. And that is like the speed at which I literally changed everything on the media team. I made a video and just like, hey, change
Yeah.
everything here.
Yeah.
And then it kind of last night I was thinking about, I was like, we literally use Alex's quote. You use Alex's quote in training. It's like replicate before you iterate. And so I think it's asinine to get coaching from any human being that you even would spend your time listening to if you're not going to take action on what they're saying. And so I hope, like in hindsight, I did not do this with like preconceived idea, but like I hope that the person that would look up to me in terms of business and is like, oh, I would like to attain this, I would like to grow my business like that, I like that model, that they would take the same action when I say things, because as long as you trust that the coach's intent is positive for you, you should take everything they say and do it immediately with full fervency and somewhat blindly, because you do not know what they have in terms of context. And so when I say like it's time to raise your prices, the person that just blindly will trust me, they will see a good outcome. And so I can say that because I have full context. I see it hundreds and hundreds of times. So if Alex says do retargeting, that's low hanging fruit. It would be asinine. It's a slap in the face to the coach to not do that immediately and take full action towards it. And so yeah, in hindsight, I was like, okay, good job, Michael. You did what you always talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like so important.
Yeah, and that was me kind of publicly giving you flowers. Like I saw you as a student, and I like even noticed because I listen to your voice more than anyone else. Every piece of content you put out, I consume, and obviously I have in-person interactions with you. Is your voice was like a different state when you were talking to him. Like I could tell it was you weren't as forthcoming, you weren't as to the point. You never cut him off once, and sometimes you get quick to respond to people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I belabor the point many a times. So with him, you like paused, you waited, you were respectful, and I think that just shows like people you can make that switch whether you're the most successful person in the world or not, or whatever measure you want to look at, you can still change your role or your outlook and learn from other people. And I think that I think kudos to you. And we're working on developing more of the sales side of Augusta. And I had a one-on-one with my coach, and I was like, hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking. And he immediately gave me feedback. And what did I do? Started running the numbers, started looking at the math, started making sure that the feedback he gave me actually works with the plan that you and I have. And it would be dumb of me to do that one on one, get his feedback, and then just, I'll figure it out later. It's like, no, he's done this
Yeah.
before. He knows what works. I need to run the numbers that he suggested and see if that fits with our plan. And if it doesn't, then I can go back to him. But guess what? I ran all the numbers, I proposed them to you, and you were like, that's great. Like, okay, so the coaching worked. Like, I should just take it and run with it.
This is a good topic, honestly. I hadn't really thought about this deeply, but like, it's so important. Like when you, it's, I think I talked about this like a year ago with owners. And it was like the skill of being a student is important. And so yeah, like going to the call, like 100%, I changed my hat because I'm so used
Yeah.
to giving advice. I'm so used to coming, like people are asking for my opinions, and so going to a state where it's like my opinion means nothing, and I need to shut my mouth and listen is like a very different state. And I think most of those times have never been recorded for me publicly. That's why it seems so different to you. But like, it is definitely a switch that you turn on when you get into a room where you're like, okay, I'm the dumbest person here. Like, this is not the time to give anything. This is the time to soak up, shut up, ask good questions. Like the only thing I try to do when I'm in a room with people like Alex, and I've been in a few times where it's been like this, you still have to be sharp. You can't you can't just be passive and just be like, oh, I'm gonna be a sponge. No, a sponge doesn't do very good until it's squeezed and then it's released and it can absorb. And so the squeezing part is the intentional questions that are required to absorb and get out the information you need from the person. And so yeah, there's multiple like so I am a coach many times, maybe the turnaround show or owners, etc. And so I know the frustrations of being a coach are. And one of the biggest ones is when someone that you are trying to help and you have full intention of trying to help them, when they're cutting you off, when they have a retort for every single piece of feedback you have. So there was actually a couple times where Alex said something, and I was going like my mind was like, oh, well, we do that. Like he's like, oh, if you give away
Hmm.
things for free, you can get their email addresses. Like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, we have an at mikeandys.com because immediately it would come across pitchy and it'd turn him off. Like it comes across bad. And there are many times, like even in the calls before that, I just get so annoyed with the people that that are on the call that are supposed to be trainees and students, and they're just doing a poor job because they're trying to look good in front of the audience. They're not being humble. They're not just like laying all the cards on the table. And they're not letting him talk. And so, yeah, I know it's like to be on the other side, and where like as a coach, you have to actually buckle down on your ego because you want to flare out at someone and be like you want to say, hey, like listening to some of the calls prior to me and what I never want to be is like where the person that has the answer has to tame their ego because what they want to say is I have built a $250 million business. Shut up and listen.
100%.
And they have to tame their ego to not say that because they're on camera. But that's what they
Hmm.
want to say,
Hmm.
and this is because I have felt that before too, where I'm talking to someone that has like one employee and they're telling me I'm like they're doing something right and I think it's wrong. I'm like, everything inside of me has to be like, okay, chill out, like shut your mouth, don't let your ego flare up. But causes frustration for your coach. And so like you can tell there was times where like Alex gets frustrated because
Hmm.
he has the answer and the person's giving excuses. Like shut your stinking mouth.
Hmm.
That's what I wanted to say sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah, being a good student is a
No.
skill that should not be it is massively underrated.
Yeah, and I felt the same way. Obviously, like biased towards you. When I'm an employee of yours, I'm bought into the brand, the mission, and the vision. I know nothing about the other callers. There was the one right before you that did the like sports
Martial arts.
or was it the martial arts or the sports mentality one? It was a
Okay,
lady.
before that, yeah,
Two
that was right before
before.
that. Yep.
Great. Like she was phenomenal. Like had great questions, very pointed. Seemed like she had a lot on her plate, but she was trying to get somewhere, which is great. All the other calls, I was just kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, and like that sounds so harsh because I don't know the person or the context, or maybe they're under a ton of stress. And this was like a lifeline moment. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to Alex. I just need something. So I don't want to assume anything about those people or those calls. But what I did see is, like I said, I saw the shift of you had your student hat on. You didn't have your coach hat on. You didn't have your CEO hat on. You didn't have the, well, I've figured out lawn care and Alex hasn't. So I'll push back when he has something that, I know doesn't work. And that's something that, we say at training with new owners is, hey, this is the way we recommend doing it. We know that it works. We've seen it work for the overwhelming majority of locations, but you don't have to do it if you don't want. Because if your market's different or your customer base is different and you feel that way, sure, you can change it. We don't recommend it, but you can, right? And it's giving people the freedom to put their student hat on and not feel like that they have to prove that their way is better or different or whatever. Just be a student. Just follow the systems, let it work for itself. So I thought that was a really cool call that you got to do that opportunity.
And then I'll also say, what Alex does a good job of is being a good coach. So like I always look at like whenever I hear any sort of Q&A, I'm always like, okay, there's a coach and there's a trainee or a student. And so he does a good job of coming down to the level. Like he has the experience of someone much higher, but then when someone comes on, they're making $50,000 a year, he'll get excited about that. And I think that's also a great attribute of a coach is they're able to train someone significantly less than them and not make them feel stupid and make them
Hmm.
still feel elevated. So there's certain elements that I even like as I'm watching those calls, I'm trying to pull from how he coaches. And I say this in part 'cause, like even the coaching program inside of Augusta, it's easy. Like, okay, I have a $2 million business. I'm trying to coach someone that's doing 200,000. They just got started this year. Like I'm going to come across as the coach. Well, no, like get excited for them. Like show that like what their win to you is nothing, nothing inconsequential, a rounding error. You spend that on fuel, like you don't care.
Yeah.
But you have to come across in a way to elevate them, even though they're so much lower below where you are at. And Alex does a great job of that, and that's why he comes across, even though some people would say he was annoyed the other day. He still comes across to the trainee as someone who empathizes with them, is on their level, and then steps up as the trainer and is like, "This is what you should do," but shows genuine care for them,
Hmm.
and that is very important. And I would say in person, he's the same way. And I
Yeah.
will say, like for people who haven't met Alex, he is everything that he is on camera, and he had as a side note, the reason I was able to go so quickly with him is he does have context for the business because I've met him before, and
Hmm.
so and he knows Dr. Kashi, and they've talked. So like, yeah, so he knew a lot. So I was able to kind of rapid fire some of the stuff at the beginning,
Yes.
knowing that he kind of had a little bit of context with the business and the off season stuff that we were doing, etc. Um,
Hmm.
but I would also say, like, for anyone that is going to spend time with any person that you look up to and aspire, have like prepare for crying out loud. Like,
Hmm.
yes, I prepared for 30 to 40 minutes for the first 30 seconds of my talk with him because I don't want to waste his time and I want to be
Hmm.
respectful. And if I'm going to get the highest value per minute from him, I need to make condense what I'm going to say at the beginning and not be umming and ahhing about what I'm going to say. And so, like Alex always says, like, how do you beat people? You spend 15 minutes before every meeting and you just prepare. And so,
Yeah.
if you're going to listen to his content, do what he says. And so, like, yeah, I like cleared my schedule before and I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm gonna like, what am I gonna say? When am I gonna say it? And then I'm gonna get to my question as fast as possible. So I can actually, instead of like a lot of the calls, it was like so much information gathering. Half the time he was asking questions versus being able to be prescriptive. And it was because they weren't prepared to give him the information he needed. And I knew what information he needed to get to my question and then be able to give me an answer. So there's so much to learn from people like Alex, and I think being a great student is extremely important.
Yeah, I think what you did well to really summarize and even look at it from a very basic level is you said, here's data, here's bottleneck. Now give prescription, right? To like get really down to like the core of what you did. You came in, you said, I'm with Augusta. We have a franchise. We have this many locations. This many are currently open. Here's kind of what I identify as our bottleneck. What are your thoughts? Like that was like basically how you started it. And I thought that was great because I also felt the same way about other calls. It was a lot of information gathering. Same thing with you guys on turnarounds. Like I think this is completely outsider knowledge. I have no idea if this is true or not, but I'm assuming it is based on what you just said is the more information that a turnaround applicant can give the media team, the better that episode's going to be and the better it's going to perform because you have their profit and loss statement. You know what they're spending on rent. You know what employee turnover looks like. The owner maybe has openly shared some of their personal struggles a little bit more behind the scenes. So you have that for context. You can produce a better episode and you can give a better prescription for that business owner. And that was one of the things that Alex also said is potentially screening that applicant pool even more aggressively. And to kind of tangent off into that now, does the media team see that as now a new bottleneck that, applicants can be scarce or you aren't finding the right applicants? Like, what does that look like now?
Yeah, we've always known that is actually the constraint to everything. The challenging part is the number of applicants and then screening them to just are they of enough size to have a story? Then like we haven't even got to the part where we actually screen them for like are they good on camera? Because we don't have enough. Like if I was
Right.
able to get 10, 15 applicants a day, we'd be golden. We would probably do another layer of like a video with them, see if they're good on camera, see if they're energetic, etc. We just don't have enough applicants. So like it's also like why I talked about with him like the CTA for getting more applications because we do not have enough.
Hmm.
Because immediately 60 to 70% of people are solo, and we know those don't do well because there's no story. There's no
Right.
character development. Um, So
Go,
immediately
go
those people
sell.
are, yeah. And then there's a big chunk of people who they care about their images. They're trying. We can tell obviously they're just trying to do this for promotional purposes and get on the show and look popular, and they're going to try to look good. So like we weed those people out. So we're down this very small segment of an already restricted pool. So Brianna does a lot of this stuff, and there's like the screening part, getting them set up. Where can we go? So yeah, if we could 10x, 15x the applications coming in, we would probably immediately 10x the amount of views because we have better applicants. And like a great applicant that has a great story, a really challenging problem in their business, a bigger business, we can like do like 10x the views. So we just need more applications, and so I gotta get better about like doing a CTA, asking people to actually apply.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think I'm trying to put myself in their shoes because I could see the hesitancy to want to be on camera and to be filmed.
100%.
I I do think, and my coach does not do a turnaround series, but I do think if he did it, I would apply. I think I would do it. It would be hard, but I would apply. I'm just trying to put myself, and that's not to say that like currently our sales department needs like a whole turnaround. But if he did like, oh, I do sales department turnarounds, like I think I would apply because the value outweighs the potential embarrassment, the potential of me looking bad on camera, whatever. Maybe I think it's so then it's the classic value fulcrum, right? It's like, okay, when value exceeds price, the price of an ego hit, the value of you showing up, like how do we make that even better? Like, have you guys
Yeah.
thought about that?
Yeah, 100%. And the challenging part is the more we define and dwell on and tell the story of the low moments, the better the episode does. People don't care about a fluff piece. They don't care about an interview with a successful owner. They don't. We have seen this over and over and over. This is why, like Connor's episode a few months ago has 200,000 views, and then the next episode we do with an Augusta owner has 20,000 or 30,000 views, is because this one has problems and issues and bankroll like
Hmm.
credit cards are bouncing, and so it's that's why like people are like, I thought all their locations are struggling. It's like, no, because you clicked on the video that said they have no money, so let's just get that straight. um all of it to say, yeah, it's difficult because the larger the business is too, you also have more risk, you have more people involved, and so bringing cameras on is even more and more intimidating. And so I think the part that I would say to any owner that's debating it is, like yesterday when I was talking to Alex, it's like you will have to humble yourself as a student. I think if you come across humble and you're willing to implement, every single negative comment that someone can say about you gets wiped out if you just take action. That's it. If you just take everything I say, despite people not liking the way you look, despite saying things about your family, because people say stupid stuff online, despite all of that, and if you come across as a student, you learn, and then you change your business in 6 weeks, every single person in the comments will be on your side. Every single one. That's why there are
Hmm.
there are episodes where there's huge downside, like the owner looks like an absolute jerk ball, and then people will comment to that in the middle of the video, and then at the end I'll see a comment 30 minutes later saying hats off to them, they made changes, they turned their
Yeah,
business around. And so
yeah.
there's one person in specific I'm thinking about, I'm not gonna say their name, that probably has the worst character development we've ever had on an episode, and we were like hesitant to put the video out. We're like, he's gonna get fried. But because in 6 weeks he turned the business around and did every single thing we talked about, there's not hardly a negative comment in the video. And so, or if they made a negative comment, they almost always followed up 20 to 30 minutes later saying the exact opposite, or saying, hey, kudos to them. So I would say to anyone that's thinking about it and has a bigger business, is concerned about it, is like, yes, it will be painful, but if you make changes and you come across as a student and do what we talk about, you win the entire audience over. And so,
Hmm.
even yesterday, like in the chat, like there's people that think I'm a scam artist and all the rest of it. But like I did exactly what Alex said. And so if you're a fan of Alex, you attribute the fact that I then listened to him and then go do what he said as a positive thing. And so I think the same thing is true for anyone thinking about, like, if you're coming to Mike Andy's channel to watch my content, you believe that what I say should be done. And so if you're going to be on the show, do what I say and everyone will think positive things about you. And so, yeah, that would be my 2 cents for the person that's kind of weighing in the balances if they should join or should apply. Because yes, it's embarrassing and it will be difficult to share your numbers. And people will say negative things about you. And if you implement and if you execute, all of that gets wiped out.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And something that I had here that's, related, we were talking about a podcast that I shared with you, Diary of a CEO, interview with Simon Sinek. This was within the last couple of months. And one thing that I highlighted from that video that I shared with you and the leadership team is that failure stories resonate more effectively than success stories. And I think what you and the team have done very effectively is you share the failure, you get the bad comments, right? This guy has no idea what he's doing. He's a horrible boss, blah, blah, blah. But then you can turn it into a success story. That's the whole point. It's a turnaround. But you need that kind of failure, that presupposition that this person is not doing well to get people to kind of root for them, to align with that. And I think that you guys have done that well. And now it's just finding the right applicants that kind of fit that. Okay, what is their kind of failure story and how do we turn it onto a success arc?
And every trip we go on, we get better. Like that's what I keep relying on, even though like the views don't necessarily show it. Um, we get better every single show in terms of the pre-production and things like that. So I don't want to be in a rush because I know we're improving so fast right now. As much as I'm like, let's 5X, like hire a bunch of people. It's like, okay, we are on the right path, and we know we're on the right path based upon what he said, and so we just need to keep executing on the plan.
Yeah.
And the one part just stung so bad is your instincts are right, but it's just an execution problem. Oh man, that
Oh,
stung.
that.
That was a
Oh, yeah, from
stung
Alex.
from
When
Alex,
he's
dude.
yeah, when he
Uh,
said that, I took it as like a compliment to you. It's like the instincts are right, the execution's wrong. I took it as like, hey, you have the instincts, but you maybe you throttle the instincts because you're just not 100% sure, right? And I don't think that's I don't. I mean, for you, you can take it how you see fit. I didn't take it as a negative. I took it as like, okay, it's a compliment, but it's also a charge. Like you should act on those instincts more effectively.
yeah, I knew he meant it as a positive thing. I knew he did,
Yeah.
but if taken out of context, that one line, I was like, snap.
You're a big execution guy, so that's tough. You pride yourself on your ability to execute. So I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Uh,
That was cool. That was sweet. I'm glad that you did that. I know we went on many a different rabbit trails, so we can wrap it there. Any non-financial advice for the people?
take the floor. Go ahead.
All right. I have a piece of advice. Most business owners, probably right now, home service business owners, probably not hiring. Okay. You're probably not hiring right now. Just piece of advice for you. Check your Indeed account. Make sure everything's set up correct. Make sure your business is verified. I had a lot of issues. It was like a 2 week headache to get that all figured out. Thankfully, shout out Taylor here at our command center. She helped me out. She helped right the ship. But we had a huge verification issue on our Augusta Indeed account for the command center. And it was a whole nightmare of getting everything done. And I'll even say this to Indeed's credit or demise. They definitely did a workaround for us. Like they didn't officially solve the problem, but hey, I got applicants coming in. So check your Indeed account. Make sure your business is verified. They are tightening everything up in terms of making sure spam job postings aren't going up. So they're asking for more verification from businesses. So if you plan on hiring in the next few months or even just next spring, make sure you're verified properly. So when you put up an ad, it actually goes up.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, my non-financial advice is around health. So, what gets measured gets managed. I never ever weighed myself. Like maybe
Oh,
once a
nice.
year, I would never weigh myself. Well, because of our macro factor, and you need to do weigh-ins in order to be able to like adjust your calories based upon
Mm,
your weight. All of a sudden, I am measuring, and I'm doing really good, dude. I hit my goal,
nice.
so I'm at
Let's go.
145. That was my goal.
Sweet.
And so when we went down to Austin, we went to this one gym called On It Gym, where like Joe Rogan and all them go. It is crazy.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
expensive, dude. It's like $1,000 membership. There's a cheaper one for like 500, but like crazy. But we were able to get a day pass. It was like $35, crazy. But
Whoa.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But dude, everyone's walking around, these dudes without shirts on with like 6 and 8 packs. I just felt like, oh, Michael, you have so far to go. So I'm like, I have to lose like 5 or 6 pounds. So yeah, I officially hit my goal, 145. So
Nice. There you go. Congrats. Sweet. All right. Well, that is the pod. We'll come back in a couple of weeks, but thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.